Welcome to episode 34 of Coffee and Co-Read, your source for all things literary with Catherine.
And Kristen, where we believe there's nothing better than a hot coffee and an awesome book. Join us for our virtual book club where we take one book a month and dive into all the drama, adventure, and romance we can find. Hi, Catherine.
Hey, Kristen.
So because it's October and we're on the fall theme, we really like fall, if you haven't guessed. Um, we figured that we would talk spooky books today.
Yeah.
So, what are you into for spooky books?
Um, so I guess I don't really read a whole lot of actual like horror or thriller books. I have read a few and I do like a few, but I also like to sleep. So
Yeah.
you know how it is.
Yes. Yeah.
uh, I I guess I like a lot of people, I read books that have paranormal elements, but
Mhm.
they're more romance based. So there are a lot of those that I've read, specifically vampire ones,
Yeah.
because I absolutely love vampires. Uh, but for actual like more thrillery books, I do love like just the original Dracula, Bram Stoker. Big fan. Read it
Mhm.
before we had to read it in school, then read it again in school, and of like I read it often. Um, I also really like Chuck Palahniuk books.
Mhm.
I think those are maybe more thriller, I would say. I don't really
Yeah.
know. Could probably look it up, but he his most famous book obviously is Fight Club.
Mhm.
Um, but I would say my favorites were the book Choke and Rant. I liked those ones a lot. Um, there's also a book, The Raw Shark Texts by Stephen Hall, which plays on my love of sharks, uh, which I think I actually need to reread. But from what I remember, it was a shark that like came out of words. It was like I think I read it in high school. It was very trippy. I don't really remember what happened. I really need to reread it. But he was being attacked by a shark, but it wasn't possible to be a like ocean shark. It was like a text shark through the
Oh,
book.
fun.
Very, yeah. Anyway, and then one that I literally read the book because of the movie that was coming out was Horns by Joe Hill. Uh, Daniel Radcliffe was in the movie, and I don't think I've actually seen the movie, but I read the book and I actually liked it. But I just haven't gotten around to watching the movie yet. So
So you read the book so that you could watch the movie, and then you read the book and didn't watch the movie.
yeah, and I read the book literally like 6 years ago. It's been a long time. Yeah, I read the book around the time that my youngest nephew was born, and he is now 8. So it's been a while. Um, and I also read some R.L. Stine books when I was younger, specifically like the Fear Street Saga books, because, you know, I feel like
Yeah.
everybody had their turn with R.L. Stine.
Yeah. I liked the R.L. Stein, like the Goosebumps books, but I really liked the Choose Your Own Adventure ones.
Yeah, those were fun too.
Yeah.
Um, what about you? What are some spooky or fallish books that you like?
So samesies, like I'm not a big horror genre book reader.
Hmm.
Again, it's just not my scene. I'm not big on the horror movies, like, and I know we say we love Halloween, and we do, but we love like I feel like our the Halloween we like is like the PG-13 Halloween.
Yeah, I'll
So
agree with
like,
that.
like Hocus Pocus and like Halloween Town and like all those old school Halloween movies and like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, like all those sorts of things. That's what I'm
Hmm.
into.
Like the Ex Hex.
Yes, yes, like the Ex Hex. Um, but I am an English teacher, so like I feel like I'm sort of duty bound to like Edgar Allan Poe.
Mm,
And I really do like his stuff is really good. Obviously, the Telltale Heart is amazing, and I do it with my grade nines every year.
yeah.
And also the Cask of Amontillado. I don't actually know if it's Amontillado or Amontillado. It's two L's, which is why I'm saying Amontillado. Um, but yeah, like those two are my go tos. I really like both of them.
Yeah.
Um, I do also like some Alfred Hitchcock stuff. Um, there's one I don't actually know what it's called. I call it the Lamb Dinner, and it's actually really good. Have you heard of that one?
I haven't, but
It's
the
hilarious. I know it's supposed to be scary, but it's not. Essentially, this woman, her husband like treats her bad, so she kills him, and she's trying to figure out what to do with the body.
and she
Uh,
Sweeney Todd's it.
she does Sweeney Todd it. Then to make it all better, like so he's missing, and then the cops come looking for him, and they come to her house.
And she feeds them him.
She feeds them the lamb dinner, so they ate the
Amazing.
the evidence, and
I
they're
love
like,
it.
"Oh my god, this was so good," and she was like, "Oh,"
Oh. Yep.
and it's hilarious, like not hilarious. I'm not a psychopath, but like it's good. But like the Alfred Hitchcock stuff, it's not books. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Um, I will say though that the author I probably like the most that I would consider sort of like not horror, but like maybe creepy, suspenseful, is James Rollins. He and it's weird that I'm into it because you would never say. Um, but it's like doomsday sciency, like I sci-fi-ish. I don't know how to explain it. So essentially all of his books are sort of similar. Like they have
Mhm.
the same like makeup, like the same blueprint.
Yeah.
So like usually it's like team of scientists and some military men, and they discover like some sort of natural phenomenon, and they're like, "Well, we need to investigate this." And then they go and investigate it, and they find all of these like hidden either creatures or bacteria or like spores or something, and they kill like there's like a group of 30, and like everybody dies really gruesome deaths except for like the main two or three characters. And they all follow that same model with like different
Okay.
but like different themes. So like
Yeah.
my two favorites are Subterranean, which is in the Arctic. So they find like this underground Arctic cavern, and they like get electrocuted by eels, and then there's this giant man-eating yetis that come after them all the time, and like they all die. Uh and then another one's called Amazonia, which is set in the Amazon. So it's the same thing, but it's with like Amazon based creatures. So like there's like a crocodile that's literally like 20 feet long and like gigantic and eats them. And then there's like scorpions that are like the size of your arm that are gonna come and eat you, and like killer monkeys. And it's just like it you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so it's the same idea though. So like people will discover it, they'll realize, oh, this should never have been opened up, and then they
Yeah.
have to work to close it again.
Yeah.
So like it's I don't know if I would call it horror because like the deaths are gruesome. I
Hmm.
will say that. Like they are not pretty. But it doesn't feel super horror-y. It feels more suspenseful, like actiony.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But that's literally the best I have for a spooky book. And like it's not spooky, but it's got a lot of gruesome deaths in it. So if you're into that, like check him out because he's really good and he's got a lot of stuff. He's got this whole what's it called? The Sigma Force series, and he's got how many? 16 books just in that series alone. Um
Wow.
and essentially they're all books like that, but it's like the same set of characters, and they're like military based characters, and that's their job.
Hmm.
Like that's their job is they go and investigate these like science-y phenomenon. So I don't know, he's really good. I really like his stuff.
I feel like if your whole job is that and it keeps turning out this way, maybe you should get a new job.
But the main character never dies, right? And he's
Ah,
like he's like the Sigma Force leader, right?
yeah, that makes sense
So,
ish.
yeah. And like sometimes it's not him, sometimes it's his friend, and his friend goes. I actually
Mhm.
think, if I remember correctly, one of his friends actually loses an arm, I think from the killer Yetis, maybe?
Okay,
And like he's in future books without an arm. So,
that's good though.
I mean, they don't,
Representation and
yeah, but like they don't all, I guess they don't all die. Like some of them just come back
yeah,
like severely injured. But yeah. Anyway, he's really, the books are good. But
yeah.
that's all I got on the spooky train.
No, I love it.
Um so I guess with that, we are going to get into it. Just a heads up, this is not a spoiler-free zone and things could get a little saucy. So last week we ended off with essentially Rhys getting attacked by a 90s grunge witch ghost
Yeah,
person, like a 90s grunge ghost.
if I
Uh
was a ghost, I'd want to be here.
yeah, I know, same. If I had to be any sort of ghost, it would be a 90s grunge ghost.
Exactly.
So, yeah, they go to the library to try and look up curses and stuff, and then this ghost ends up freaking everybody out and attacking Rhys. So we're starting this week with chapters 18 to 25. So we're gonna go for it. So where we are at now. So again, we left off. They were attacked at the library. I should say they had a hot moment and like made out hardcore, and it was good.
Yes, we are very upset that they got like distracted. I
Interrupted?
interrupted is a good word. Interrupted by a ghost. Yes.
Yeah. Why couldn't she pick a better time? Like,
Right.
come on, you're already dead. So I guess after this whole debacle, they go for coffee. Um, Rhys, we're in Rhys's POV right now, and he mentions how like he likes the town and he thinks that Vivi fits there. Um, I feel like the way they set this book up, they set it up where there's not really gonna be a choice for him at the end, if you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah. Especially since the beginning of the book, he was like, I don't like going home.
yeah, like I feel like the author is consistently reminding us that like he likes his country, but he doesn't like his dad. So he doesn't like his house that he grew up in. And like Vivi fits in town. She loves her job. She loves the campus. She loves her family. So like it's sort of giving us like a, well, I mean, we know that, if in quotation marks they end up together, we both know what's going to happen. Like she's not going to leave her town.
Yeah. It is a bit like I did expect a bit more though, because she's clearly been studying whales forever. So I did expect there to be a bit of like, I'll go with you. No, I'll stay with you.
Yeah.
Like, I expected there to be more of a decision to stay together as opposed to what actually happens, which we
Yeah.
don't necessarily need to get into now, but
No. But yeah. So again, so we get that set up. I the only thing that sort of bothered me about these couple pages, so it very clearly states that they go for coffee, and then when they get to the coffee shop, they both order tea. So like, don't say you're going for coffee if you're both going to get tea. Say you're going for tea.
yeah,
Why would you say you're going to go for coffee and not get coffee? Like they are two different beverages.
they are. Yes. You could say you're
So,
going to a coffee shop and
yes,
then get tea, but don't say you're yeah, I
right?
completely agree.
Anyway, that was the one thing that really bothered me.
I love it.
Um so they sit together at a table. It's very cozy. Um it was really awkward though because he's looking at her and she's trying to look anywhere but at him
Uh,
because she's embarrassed about their like really intense makeout scene.
and he's
Um
so in love. He's
he's
so in love with her.
so in love with her, yeah. he wants to talk about it. Like, he's like, we need to
Wants
talk.
to continue it.
I'm sure, yeah. But he's like, we got to talk about the library. And she's like, no, we don't. Like, it was stupid. It was just a kiss. Let's not talk about it. And the thing that he sort of says in his head, he knows that he won't get anywhere when she's like got it in her head that she doesn't want to talk about it. So he just drops it. And like, I know they're not together right now,
Mm-hmm.
but like, that doesn't seem like a very healthy way to live your life.
Also, because you were a certain way when you were 19 doesn't mean you're that way now. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like you can have a new relationship now than you did then. If you're trying to have another relationship with somebody that you had a relationship when you were younger, I feel like you should start it off on a different foot and be like, "Hey, let's communicate. We're adults
Yes.
now."
Yes.
And if they can't
Agreed.
communicate, then you can't have a relationship with them. And
Yeah.
that's just the way it is.
Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, so like, I just don't understand. Like, he's like, oh, well, I'll never get anywhere, so I'm just not going to talk about it. And I'm like, but you need to talk about it.
Yeah, that's not logical.
Anyway, um, they start talking about the cafe instead. Um, so apparently it's run by magic. Like, so like there are enchantments all over the cafe, to make sure that like orders never go wrong, no one drops anything, and it's employed only by witches. Like, you have to be a witch to work there. Where was this when we worked?
I was literally just thinking that. Like, thank you. I would love this to be my job.
Yeah. Yes. Like, why? Where was it? I'm so upset that this is what happened to us.
Agreed.
Anyway, I don't know what to say. Like, we had so many things break and get spilled and orders messing up and people taking the wrong orders. Like, I just wish we had this.
Yeah, it would have been amazing.
Anyway, they sort of like both come to the same conclusion that magic is on the fritz and sort of bad now. So, like, if magic is bad and this cafe is run by magic, what the heck is going to happen? And this is the best part. It's like a sitcom when when they like realize something and then all of a sudden the something they realize happens. So all of a sudden, as like they're both thinking and talking about this exact thing, a huge crash happens. And they look over and a whole table fell over and all the mugs and plates crashed on the floor and broke. And then, shocker, there's a body on the floor. So, like, in my head, I was like, oh my God, it went from like
0 to 100 real
0.
quick.
Yes, it went from like 0, anything happening, to all of a sudden, like, dead body.
Hmm.
And then I was like, well, maybe something nefarious happened. But actually, what happened is hilarious.
It's even better. It's
Yeah, it's
honestly
good.
one of the best spells, etc.
Yeah. So, so I guess Rhys goes over and to the body to like investigate, and he sees that the guy that fell on the floor, he's still breathing, and he's holding his mug, but he's completely frozen, like completely. And they sort of, I guess they have like a talent where when you have magic, you can sense magic. So they sense it coming from his drink, like he's, I don't know, it's like he's got a magic drink.
I almost felt like Rhys could sense it more so than Vivi. I don't
Oh,
know if that's true, but I felt like anytime that anyone was talking about sensing magic, but I also, like I said before, had it in my mind that something was really going to be about her magic, and obviously it wasn't. So,
yeah. But yeah, so I guess they're like, well, I guess that drink has been spelled.
mm.
So they look around and the owner is in the cafe, but she just looks really concerned, like, oh shit, what happened to this guy?
Yeah.
So they're like, well, if she looks concerned, she obviously didn't spell the guy. Then they look at the other worker that's there, who's like looks like she's a college student, and she looks suspicious and then runs into the back room. So they follow her. They're like, I don't, it's weird how they, like, the ambulance shows up, the owner leaves the counter to like deal with the guy that fell over, so they like sneak into the back room. The worker's name is Sam, and she's like sitting in the back on a milk crate, which is like what we used to do all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking about it the other day. We used to always go in the back room and sit on a milk crate to have our break
Yep.
in this like little closet of a room.
Yeah. You'd read your book and eat
Mm.
your sandwich,
Yep.
and that would be your lunch.
Yeah. It was brutal. And then like you feel bad because people be coming in trying to reach stuff and they have to like walk over you.
You'd like reach up and grab them the syrups, or like if they needed the mop, you'd have to like stand up and move over by the fridge to get it out of the way.
And then if it was one of us in the room and the other one was coming back there, half the time we ended up getting like, we got distracted and started chatting.
Yes. Exactly that.
So anyway, so yeah, so she's sitting on a crate, and she sort of asks, like, she's upset, and she asks like if the dude will be okay, and they're like, well, yeah, like he will be okay, because apparently when he sensed the spell, he sensed that it won't last forever, like it'll just
Hmm.
last like a couple hours. They asked her then, like, well, what was the spell, what did you do? She called it a bespoke spell, which I don't know what that means, but
No.
um and also says like they're not going to know what it is because they're old and it's a new spell. And I'm like, they're in their late 20s.
Yeah.
I would
But I
not call
also
that old.
appreciate it because that's how I feel a lot of the time.
But like, I would put her at like 19, 20 years old. So
Mhm.
like the fact that they're only like 9 years older than them, it just doesn't seem, I don't know.
That old? No, I
Yeah,
get it.
in comparison. Like, I wouldn't have considered somebody to be 28, 29. She's only 28.
Yeah.
I
No,
wouldn't
I
have
agree.
considered that super old.
I feel like the author must be closer to our age and she's just projecting ish. Like, that's kind of just how it feels.
Maybe. So they want to know, they're like, well, what was it supposed to do? And she's like, so suspicious. She's like, who are you guys and why do you want to know? Like, what is going on? Why do you care?
Mhm.
Um, but then she just goes on to say that like the guy wanted a potion to make him hard.
Magical Viagra.
It's, yeah, so she's like, it's magical Viagra. And she said it, at first she made it as a joke, but eventually, like, she gave it to a friend to use, and then it spread around that she could do it. So she says she gets dudes coming in a few times a week for it. So essentially she's dealing in potions. She's like a drug dealer but for potions.
Yeah. And I guess there's no real laws or anything. So she's just an entrepreneur
Yeah, I mean, like, good on her though, to be honest, because that takes an enterprising.
mind.
Yeah. But yeah, so she says she charges $100 a potion. Like, why wouldn't you just use Viagra at this point?
Yeah. That
Like,
doesn't make any sense because, like, you could get a prescription for Viagra and most insurance companies cover it. So,
exactly.
don't
So I
know.
don't I don't really know why she has to make them potions when they could just easily get Viagra. Um anyway, so Vivi sort of suggests like maybe it's a good idea for you to not do magic for a while. And like I get where she's coming from because like they know that magic is on the fritz, and if people
Hmm.
do magic, bad things could happen. But like they can't really tell everybody, "Hey, we broke the ley lines."
Yeah.
Like, maybe don't do magic. So like they just have to try and convince her not to do it. And this girl, like, she is a straight up bitch
Yep.
because the girl, Sam is her name, essentially insults her and says that that's like asking her not to breathe and that she wouldn't understand because she's obviously not a witch, which is
Yeah.
sort of like, ouch.
Yeah, it's a bit intense. Like,
Yeah, and it's like Vivi sort of like brushes it off by being like, it's probably because she's not like, I guess they probably know her to work in the university, but they know that she works in the human section.
hmm
And
yeah.
then they also sort of like Vivi thinks that they're comparing her to the um other college witches, like the college professors on the witch side of campus, and they're all very like unique,
hmm
and she's sort of not. Like, not that she's not unique, but you know what I mean, like she doesn't have the same sense of like style and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
she's like, maybe they're just like saying that, she's not a witch because all they have to compare her to are the like university prof witches.
Yeah. I honestly, if I were her, would have been like much more upset about this than
Yes.
she is at all.
Yeah.
It's like she's barely upset about it, really. And I'm like, I would have been livid.
I think it hurts her feelings initially, but then again, like it's one of those things that never comes back.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
Which kind of makes it a bit less realistic.
yeah.
Like, I would have been thinking about that for days afterwards. I would have been like, she couldn't feel that I was a real witch. Am I a real witch? Like, you know.
Yeah. Um Anyway, so this girl Sam like sort of can't get over it. She's like, "Wow, I can't believe you're a witch." And like, "Wow, you're a witch." And just keeps like going over it. She like keeps reiterating how much she can't believe that she's a witch. And it's just sort of like, okay, like Rhys sort of starts to cut her off after she's like, "I can't believe you're a witch. I can't believe you're a witch." Rhys is like, "Okay, we get it. Maybe you should chill out on the magic a little bit." So that sort of convinces her. Of course, it's the man.
yeah.
Um, After like they leave and sort of get Sam on the right track, um, they talk about how all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, well, we can't really keep putting out the fires. We need to solve the curse." Last week, they were the opposite. They were like, "Let's just put out the fires as they come."
Yeah.
And now this week, well, we can't do that. So they're very wishy-washy.
Very true.
um I guess they're very worried about the curse being stronger at Halloween, um due to Sam Hain. So they agree that they need to try and have it solved by then.
Good
And
luck.
yeah, right. Vivi sort of like reasserts to him that they're on the same team, yes, and they're gonna solve the curse together, but the kiss was a mistake.
Yeah.
Um, Rhys doesn't agree. He says he feels like that kiss like woke him up. Like he was asleep for 9 years and he finally woke up, and like he's finally alive again,
Hmm.
and he doesn't want to go without it again. So I loved it. I love that he's so like sure about himself and like sure about his feelings.
Yeah. It's very much a like the man is very in love and she's the one that is not sure. And I do appreciate that a lot in a book. So,
Yeah. So she sort of like reminds him that like when this is all over, he's leaving. And what they have can't really be done long distance, because in her mind, what she's saying about it now is like it's just like sexual tension and like chemistry. So like how you work that long distance,
yeah, which is
right?
sad because he's not like saying that at all. So,
Yeah, he's obviously he's in love with her and he wants to stay with her, but she's sort of reminding him that their lives like don't work together.
yeah.
Um so he sort of wonders like maybe she's right. Maybe this is just like sexual chemistry. Maybe it'll burn itself out. So I guess he sort of like resigns himself to see if that's what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway. The next day, Vivi is in her office and she's thinking about how now, because Rhys has been in her office, that's all she's gonna think of. Like, now
Mhm.
all she can picture is him in her office. Before, it used to be a Rhys free space, so she wasn't clogged up with images of him. Now
Mhm.
he's been in her office, so now that's all she's gonna do is think about him being in her office. Um, all of a sudden, there's a knock at the door. There's a prof from the witchy department there, whose name is Amanda Carter. And Vivi sort of like notices that she sort of looks out of place to be one of the um like one of the witchery department witches. Like,
Mhm.
said that she was pretty young, like she was probably the youngest witch she's seen to get hired there. Like maybe she was 30, and like she was hip, and like she wore jeans, not these like cloaks and like big, like brooding things that you would picture a witch to wear. So she was like, oh, this is cool. Like, she thinks that this girl's a pretty cool witch. Um, Apparently, according to this woman, Dr. Arbuthnot, or Arbuthnot, I don't really know how to say her name. She's the dean of witchery, and she apparently sent um, Amanda Carter to help Vivi deal with the unbound ghost, the grungy ghost. So Amanda sort of like reveals that Piper, who is the name of the ghost, was involved with trying to summon spirits back in the day. Um, and so they have to figure out how to rebind her. And I guess they do, like, I guess they know that if you want to catch a ghost, you need a couple things. Like, you need to know where. So they know that, okay, this Piper girl was trying to summon spirits back in the day, and that's eventually what killed her. She didn't have enough power to summon the right spirits, so she died. So this Amanda person gives her a weird candle, and Amanda gives Vivi a heads up over like where they can catch Piper the ghost's spirit, like a good place to catch her. So Vivi's like, all right, well then I guess we're going to a haunted house. Which is
Fair.
pretty cavalier. It's like, if it were me, I'd be like, heck no, I'm not going to that haunted house.
Well, I'd be like, why don't you go do it?
Yeah,
You're a witch. You go figure this shit out. I'm not
yeah,
doing
agreed. I'd be like, hey, they're leaving it to you. Have fun.
it. Mhm.
But they don't. She takes it and she goes. So she texts Rhys. She's like, well, he's got to help me. So she texts him to get her to meet her that night at the house. Um, he gets the text to meet her at the mysterious address, and this has no bearing on the rest of the story. I just thought it was funny. He thinks to himself that, well, at least only 80% of the things he thinks about her are filthy. I just liked it.
Yeah, it's a good line.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, he gets like a text from her to meet him at a mysterious address, and he's like, well, and I guess out of all the thoughts he has, 80% of them are sexual in nature.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair. Like, when you want it and you can't have it, it's all you think about.
It's true.
Uh, but when he meets her, he doesn't realize it's a haunted house. Um, they're at like this creepy gate, and she's like, well, we're going on a quest. And that turns him on. Like, he gets super turned on. He says he's turned on by like everything she does. Um so like they vault the gate, like they jump over it, and it's like a forest with a cabin. It's very like
Cabin in the
there's
woods.
yeah, but like cabin in the woods plus a wrought iron gate. I don't know,
Yeah,
just feels a bit contradictory, but I guess like a lot of people don't want people breaking into their cabins. I don't know.
I guess. Yeah. especially when they're haunted.
Yeah. So, I guess Vivi reveals that this cabin, Piper actually used to rent it with other college students back in the day before she died.
Mm.
Um, I don't understand how, like, I don't know. Actually, I'll get into it in a little bit. So Vivi hauls out the Eurydice candle. That's what it's called. The candle that Amanda gave her. It's called a Eurydice candle. And Rhys is like super shocked that she has one. Apparently they're like super rare. So yeah, so like Rhys is like, how the heck did you get one of those candles? Like they're really rare. And she just says, oh, the witches at the college gave it to me. So I guess no questions.
Is this the first, like, maybe not even the first? I kind of felt like when she came into the office, I was a bit like, oh, that's strange. But
Yeah.
especially here, where it's like, oh, this is a super rare and special candle. I was like, nobody would just give that to you.
Yeah, I know. I feel like she needed to do a little bit more research on this,
Hmm.
but she didn't. It's fine.
Here we are.
Yeah. So Vivi says that obviously it has to be lit where Piper kept her altar. So because she was essentially she sacrificed her life in pursuit of summoning a certain spirit and she wasn't powerful enough. Um, the altar is sort of the place where her soul or her ghost will naturally um I guess be drawn to. So if they put the Eurydice candle on the altar where she died, then the candle's going to suck her spirit into the candle, and then they light it somewhere where it's safer to let her out.
Yeah. It's interesting that that's a thing that in this world, I guess, like where your spirit died isn't where your spirit stays. Because unless they moved her, maybe originally they moved her in the first place to the library, because like she came out in the library. That doesn't seem to be anywhere near this cabin. Because I think they also say that the cabin is like on the borders of the town. So they're not worried that their magic is going to
Yeah.
fuck with it. So
Yes.
like if it's that far away from the school, how is her spirit at the school too? It just seems odd.
Yeah, I'm assuming though it just is like that's where they bound her, so that's where she ended up, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, so apparently, Rhys asks, like, well, why do they have to do it? Why couldn't the college witches do it? And apparently, I guess Amanda told Vivi that it had to be them because they're the ones that set her free. So they're the ones that have to use the candle. Rhys thinks like it's a bad idea for them to do magic since magic is on the fritz and the candle's super powerful. And he's like, I don't think we should do this. And she just essentially is like, listen, this Amanda missus said that it would be safe. So like it should be fine. But like they don't know Amanda.
No.
So
And
like,
Rhys knows a lot more about magic than Vivi does. Full stop.
yeah. So I just like that's one thing that I was sort of like, oh, come on.
Hmm.
Because yeah, like you don't know this person. You don't know what their goal is and then all of a sudden you're just believing everything they say. It's ridiculous. Um but also like Vivi sort of thought of the whole magic thing and she's like, we aren't doing any magic ourselves. Um and Aunt Elaine figured out that the curse only extends to the city limits and the cabin is outside the town. So the curse does not affect them there.
Yeah,
So
sorry for spoiling that
that's
a few
fine.
seconds ago.
That's fine. It was literally the next thing, so it's not a big deal. So yeah, so they don't have to worry about the curse or anything like that. So Vivi's like, "Come on, it's fine. We can do this." Um I also like this moment. He just sort of like acquiesces. He's like, "Okay." And like I think she actually like they weren't in the cabin at this point. They were like in the forest outside the cabin discussing like what they were going to do
Mm.
and he didn't want to do it. but she literally started walking towards the cabin and like did this little like come hither thing with her finger, like crooked her finger at him, and he couldn't help it. He went like, he was like, okay, like a little puppy. And I really love it. I love his devotion to her.
Yeah. Well, if she's going down, he's going with her
Yeah.
in any sense of it.
Mm. So yeah, so I really liked that. Um the cabin apparently is like super duper creepy, looks just like a haunted house. Um Rhys is like, I think maybe the library deserves a ghost and maybe it should stay there. Because he
which
really doesn't want to go in.
which I agree. Like, I think all libraries deserve a ghost, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, agreed. Like, why not? As long as it's not one that'll come out and attack you every 5 seconds, because then what are you gonna get done?
Well, just befriend it.
Yeah. Um. So he's like, "Oh, maybe we shouldn't go in," but she's like, "Come on." So they go in. Um. Apparently, the inside of the cabin is like a million times creepier than the outside.
Of
Uh,
course.
and they see a picture on the wall of Piper and some other teens, which I don't get because they made it seem like the cabin was in constant use
Hmm.
um by university students. So like I don't understand. So like as soon as Piper left, like the cabin was abandoned. Is that what happened and nobody rented again? It didn't give that impression.
No, it sounded like this is a spot where they always have tenants type thing.
Yes.
But, oh yeah, I guess it's October. So it's like the middle of not the middle, but the beginning of a school year, really. So it would make sense for there to be people there and not for it to be abandoned.
But like this is the thing though, is like we can say that Piper has been dead for at least 25 years, 20-25 years, depending on
Hmm.
when in the 90s she died
Yeah.
and when the I'm going to say this book is set in like the late 20 teens, early 2020s,
Yeah.
right? So like I don't understand why Piper's stuff is still everywhere.
Yeah. No, I agree. I
Anyway,
guess after someone died there, maybe the owner was like, well, I can't.
can't rent it anymore.
Yeah, which doesn't really make sense.
I mean, it's really the only scenario we have.
Yeah.
So, they start to like go in and look around the house for the altar, but they can't find it anywhere. They all of a sudden they hear footsteps and they are afraid it's a ghost. Like they're constantly on guard for Piper's ghost and like afraid she's going to attack them again.
Fair.
Yes, very fair. Um, so they're afraid it's ghosts, but like, since when do ghosts make footsteps?
I don't know what ghosts do.
I'm ghosts making footsteps, not even footprints. I could buy the footprints. I
I could
can't
buy
buy the
footprints, yeah.
I can't buy the footsteps.
No, that's true.
Anyway, so they're afraid it's a ghost. They're like, oh, nail biter. But it's just kids outside. And even worse, it's the kid that cheated on his essay at the beginning of the book when Vivi had that really cool spell.
Yeah.
So they like run and hide in the closet and they're like peeking out to see what's going on. And they realize that this cabin is like a hookup spot for kids.
Sketch.
Well, I don't understand how does that get you in the mood? Haunted house
Also, yeah,
doesn't do it for me.
I feel like it's a bit more high school than it is university because, like, high school, I can see you being like, let's go to the haunted house and scare you and blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
in university, I feel like, I don't know. I was mostly over that shit.
Well, and people have dorm rooms,
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, exactly that. Like,
right?
a lot of people are out of their parents' house, so like why would you go to a haunted house when you could just figure it
Yes.
out elsewhere?
Yeah. Anyway, so she doesn't want obviously she doesn't want the kid to know she's around, so that's why they hide in the closet. It's a very, very small closet, and they are like all, yeah,
Ooh.
yes, they're all up in each other's grills.
Yeah.
So like they're pressed up against each other, and I gotta say the sexual tension in this scene was like good.
It
Like
was.
it was good.
It was very good, but my anxiety brain was like, if this fucking shit of a kid figures out that she's in there and
Yeah.
she has to go to work in front of him, I will not continue reading this book.
Yeah. Agreed. So they're like listening to this student and his date or whatever. He says he wants to have sex in the house, but she doesn't. And he's I love this line. He says like, "Oh, it'll be a good time." And she says, "Are you sure, cuz that's what you said last time and it was 2 minutes."
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine being told that as a man, and like imagine then your teacher hearing it? Like
Also, how would you not laugh as the teacher? Like, you're like, oh,
Oh, but they are. That's the thing. Like they're laughing in the closet like very silently because that's all
yeah,
they can do. I would be I definitely would not be able to
to laugh
not.
quietly.
No, definitely wouldn't
No.
in any way shape or form. I would be laughing hysterically.
Yeah, same.
Um so I guess Vivi notices Rhys's hands and remembers a moment in the past when they were in her dorm room bed and she was remarking how his hands were musicians' hands, and then she urges his hand down between her legs, and I'm just like, "Woo!"
We're like, yes, after the library scene, we're going to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. But so in the present, so like she's having this like flashback which is definitely turning her on.
Mhm.
So then I guess in the present when they're in the closet, they have this like it's a weird moment. So like it's an intimate moment. They don't kiss, but she puts her hands on his hips and like sort of wraps one of her legs around his leg to sort of like push him closer to her.
Mhm.
And then he wraps his arm around her waist. And then she bares her neck to him like vampire-ish.
Yeah.
And it says like he doesn't kiss her neck, but he puts his lips to her neck and they just like stay like that for a while. I, I like I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know what we're missing, but yeah.
It's hot, but like uh, I I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I have no words for that
Hmm.
act. So they hear a like they're both like I will say they're both like really really turned on.
Hmm.
Um so then all of a sudden they hear this thump outside and she realizes she's like I do not want to have sex in this closet and then have my student accidentally find me having sex in this closet.
Yeah.
So she does this like spell to knock that photo of Piper off on the wall, and um, then she like makes the door slam and she makes it seem like the house is actually haunted so that she can scare the dude and the girl away.
Hmm.
Um, after they're gone though, like they don't immediately leave the closet. Like they stay in there for a minute and then all of a sudden it's like they're about to go at it again.
Hmm.
When Vivi sort of like gets a little look around at the closet and realizes, hey, they found Piper's altar, which was in this closet the whole time.
Yeah. And it's like they may have never found it if they weren't forced in there because of this kid coming.
Yeah.
But it's also another instance of Piper literally stopping them from
Yes.
getting further along in the relationship.
God, Piper, just leave them alone.
Exactly. Rhys's pretty annoyed, but they literally get like right to it. And Vivi lights the candle. She says that the temperature drops substantially and they move out of the closet and mist starts to form and Piper McBride's ghost appears basically.
Ooh.
Spooky. Uh, the ghost is less substantial and less pissed this time that they see it. And she seems to be like going into the candle, but she turns and sees Rhys and yells the name Penhallow and says the Penhallows are cursed for taking what wasn't theirs, which is like kind of new. We thought that he was cursed because of Vivian. So this is like new information, and I just think that maybe we should talk to Piper a little more, but anyway, as she disappears, she says, "What was wrong must be righted. What was taken must be relinquished." So there's clearly something else going on than Vivian just like accidentally cursing him.
Yes.
Um, it's kind of a funny moment because they argue that to Piper that he didn't take anything, not even Vivian's virginity, but then they kind of wonder if like the ghost is maybe talking about someone else in the family, not Rhys specifically.
Yeah.
And they don't have enough time talking to Piper. The flame glows blue and then goes out, and Piper is now inside the candle.
Success.
Exactly. Ish. I'm like, you should have talked to Piper for like 5 more seconds. Maybe we would have figured this whole shit out, but
yeah.
It's too early in the book for that, I guess.
I mean, we're over halfway through.
Yeah, that's true. So at this point, it's like 2 a.m., but they go to Something Wicked to drop off the candle, which I guess isn't that weird because I think Vivi's apartment is literally in the upstairs of the shop. So
yeah, I think so.
She says that she doesn't want the ghost witch in her apartment, but it's literally just downstairs from her apartment. So I'm like, I don't think it's that far away. But they bring it to the storeroom in the back, and like it sounded cool before, the back of the storeroom, but it kind of sounds even more cool now because at night it like lights a fire and the ceiling becomes a night sky with stars, which kind of like reminds me of Harry Potter type vibes. And I guess Vivian just like describes it a bit more, but like if it's sunny out, the room gets windows. If it's rainy, it becomes cozy. It's like it's really a vibe. It sounds like the perfect spot to sit and read year round. Like that is where I would want to spend my time.
Yeah.
No milk crate back there. You'd have a comfy chaise lounge and you would be living your best life.
Yeah. Agreed. If anyone's listening, our birthdays are coming up. We want one.
Yeah. Exactly. So Vivi puts the candle down and thinks she'll text her cousin and aunt in the morning. And like when I read that, immediately I was like, shit, she's going to forget to do that. And then this is going to be a disaster. But that didn't end up happening.
No.
But that was immediately where my brain went. She was like, I'm going to lay this down here on this table and I'll text them tomorrow. And I was like, she's not going to text them. I think I just had so much anxiety from like the house and her student that I was like, everything's going to go up in flames, and it didn't. So
yeah.
Anyway, that aside, she thinks about how the night they just had is exactly what she thought being a witch would be like when she found out she was one. So yeah, it's cute. She says her life up to now has been nothing like it. She really hasn't done much witchy stuff. It kind of seems like she avoids it. And like I've said a million times, I feel like we're missing something.
Yeah.
Vivi says that she's glad Rhys never tried to sleep with her in a haunted house when they were in school. But he says that if it was available to him, he would have tried. And, you know, I guess you can't really blame him.
No. And I feel like she didn't hate it either.
No, like he kind of, I think he says he was mad about her, and she admits that like she was mad about him too,
Yeah.
in like an in love kind of way.
Mm.
Rhys then asks if they should use the word was when saying that he was mad about her. Um, he asks if he should test it out, and she nods. He, at this moment, admits that he's still mad about her after all this time, and he calls her Cariad,
Mm.
which apparently he called her in the past. And I think I did look it up at the time, and I'm pretty sure it means beloved or something. I thought I wrote it down, but I did not.
Yeah, I think it's just a pet name.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Uh,
Nora Roberts uses it all the time.
it means something. Oh, it just means love.
Oh,
There you go.
okay.
It means love. Um, Vivian kind of acknowledges that like she could stop this if she wanted to. She knows she has control here, but
Mm-hmm.
she wants to continue. She walks up to him and they kiss, and she remembers their first night, and she says that within 2 hours of meeting him they were tangled together in his tent. He made her,
Woo!
I know, which is impressive. uh, he made her feel gorgeous and powerful, and she loved feeling like that, like most women do.
Yeah.
Take notes. Um, back to the present, I guess that was kind of a bit of a flashback, but he says, and I quote, Vivian, if you'll allow me to make you come tonight, I'd consider myself the most fortunate of men.
Oh my god, if anyone said that to me, I would die.
And not in a good way.
And not
Uh,
in a good way, no.
it
Ugh.
just, it reminded me of like a historical romance or something. I'm like,
Yeah.
why did he go from talking like a normal person who is 29 to talking like he was in the 20s, like the 1820s or something? Like,
Yeah.
ugh.
I will say though, I don't remember it being that bad in um
When you read it?
yeah, like I
Yeah.
don't like maybe I just skimmed past it enough that it didn't really affect me,
Yeah. It,
but
yeah, it obviously very much affected me because I was like, you need to type this down word for word.
yeah, no, obviously it's no good now. I don't like it.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to ruin it for anybody. But Vivi is here for it. She says, please. And they stumble back to the CD behind them. He starts to undress her, and Vivi wishes this was just about sex and heat between them, that they hadn't liked each other so much 9 years ago. So, like,
Mm.
she's, I feel like
She likes him.
she's, she does, but she's too focused on the fact that it has to end.
Yeah.
And like as a reader, you're like, it doesn't have to end. Stop thinking about
You
it.
guys are both consenting adults. You can move.
Exactly. He has a travel business. You can do that from anywhere,
That's true.
literally anywhere.
Yeah.
Um, he makes her come with his fingers, and she loses herself again, like the first time. Uh, but she knows that this time, like, has to be different. She can't love him and watch him leave again, which he didn't have to leave the first time either. Anyway, enough griping about all that. Um, but the next morning, Vivi does remember the candle, and she shows it to her cousin and her aunt. Amanda is coming to pick it up from her office in the afternoon, but she wanted to show her family first, obviously. She obviously thinks about the night before because she's in the same room again. Uh, so she can't really make herself regret the night before because she feels really good in the morning. Better than she has in a while, she says, even with her lack of sleep. So how
Good
can
for her.
she, yeah, like how
Like
can
she
she be upset about it?
Yeah, she got it. Like she literally just had him pleasure her and then she like it was it.
Pieced out.
Yeah.
Exactly. Her aunt, though, is surprised that a college witch gave her a Eurydice candle. Don't
Eurydice.
know. Whatever. whatever it is, um, with their history and all, because it's like kind of common knowledge that the witches in the school and her aunt and cousin don't really get along. So she doesn't think that they'd be willing to give her one, which we'll get to later, I guess.
Yeah.
But I guess Vivi explains that the witch that she saw was more modern than the rest, and Elaine laughs about that and says it's more likely that they just wanted Vivi to do their dirty work,
Oh,
which makes sense, really.
yes.
Um, Vivi says it wasn't too hard and that her and Rhys were fine. And Gwyn kind of looks over and is like, "You guys did something. I know it." She has like spidey senses for it.
Yeah.
Elaine then asks if that is all Vivi wanted to tell them. And for a minute, Vivi thinks that like her aunt knows about the fingering incident. But then she remembers what the ghost said about Penhallow men being cursed and taking something they didn't own. And she wonders if it's about like their ancestor Griffith. And
What kind of a name is Griffith?
I don't know.
I don't know if we talked about this
I
before.
don't I don't think we did. It really reminds me of Gryffindor.
Yeah. Yeah. But like, I don't know. I just don't like the name
No,
Griffith. It's the worst.
I agree. Um, Elaine kind of says that she'll look into it and see if she can figure anything out about any of the ancestors and if that's the reason why he might be cursed. She then praises Vivi for doing such powerful magic when she doesn't apparently even like cleaning her apartment with magic.
Hmm.
But it's kind of funny because she says she uses the time to catch up on podcasts, which same. Like
Yeah.
she although if I could clean my house with magic, I would just sit down and listen to podcasts instead. So
I know.
I don't have the choice.
She needs to work out her priorities.
I agree. uh her aunt tells her that her mother would be proud, which
Hmm.
surprises Vivi since her mother apparently hated magic according to Vivi, but Elaine kind of explains that she didn't hate it. She was good at it when she wanted to be. She just felt like magic wasn't her choice. It was just something that happened to her. So she kind of just chose another path and then had a child and I guess a husband and tried to do her own thing outside of magic.
But like, that doesn't track for me.
No.
Because like, if if it is what the aunt says and that is actually true,
Mhm.
then I don't think she would have hidden it from Vivi.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think she would have been open about it. Like, hey, this is something we can do. I choose not to. It's like the whole religion thing. Like letting your
Ye-
kids have the choice. You know what I mean? Like you
I know,
expose
but
them
most
to
people
it.
don't let their kids have the choice. So it maybe it's the
That's
same
true.
thing.
I guess, yeah.
Maybe your analogy just snapped back at you. But I get what you're
Not
saying.
unusual at
No,
all.
I get what you're saying. Like if her mother was like, "This is something that happened to me, but I chose not to." You'd think that she'd be like, "This is something that's happening to you, but don't show the normies. Like
Yeah,
it's just something that's happening." Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we need more information there. I feel like we're missing something.
maybe.
Um anyway, Vivi goes to walk back into the main part of the store, and a girl is just standing there wide eyed looking inside, which just made me think like, who is actually running the store right now? Because, like, why is the store even open if
Yeah.
they're all in the back room? Like, shouldn't they just close it for a bit? But anyway, the point being that obviously the magic that keeps people away isn't working right now,
Right.
which is obviously not surprising because all the magic is screwed up.
Yeah.
Um, Vivi goes back to the college, and Amanda meets her in the parking lot. And Vivi's obviously really grateful to hand over the candle, saying she'll take, and like Amanda says that she's going to take it to her side of campus and everything's going to be fine and like thanks so much. But as Vivi leaves, she looks back and she sees that Amanda's like heading towards the woods away from campus. And she's like, oh, she must know a shortcut or like have to go to her car first.
What a
And
dumbass.
I know. And she just goes like straight to work and to teacher classes and just like gonna forget all about it. And I'm like, what the fuck are you
Yeah.
thinking?
Yeah.
Like, just seems dumb.
It does.
But we move along because that's what books do.
Mm-hmm.
Vivi is starting to feel okay finally. She feels like they're doing better and she's doing her normal work in her office when a knock comes on her door and Dr. Arbuthnot is in the doorway. And of course, at this point, we jump immediately to Rhys's point of view.
Mm-hmm. Because we can't know what happens.
Exactly. So we jump to his point of view, and Vivi has showed up at his door, and it's nighttime, and she looks defeated, and she just says, "You were right." And he's just like, "What the hell is going on?" But she explains she thinks he was right about how they can't just put out fires anymore. They need to get to the root of the problem because by trying to put out fires, they likely are starting more. And I feel like we've had this conversation
Yes.
4 or 5 times by now. Like
Yeah.
it's getting intense. Like we already knew that this was a bad plan. You can't put out the fires. You got to like
Solve
figure
the
out the
problem.
curse.
Yeah.
But he gets her some wine, which I also think is a good plan.
Yep. Smart.
Exactly. She takes her wine and tells him that they screwed up. Like he asks if it's about last night and she says obviously, and she's thinking about the candle and the ghost, but
Yeah.
he's clearly thinking about fingers and couches. And it takes her a second to catch up. But she does clarify that she's thinking about the candle. But she does agree that another fuck up was the rest of the stuff that they did. It's just not a priority right now.
Wow.
Yeah, which is like a slap in the face a bit.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah.
But back to the issue at hand, I guess. She tells him that Amanda was not who she said she is. She isn't even a witch. She's a con artist named Tamsin Bly, and she deals in magical artifacts. So the college witches have apparently been watching her and expecting something from her, but she slipped past them and got to Vivi, of course.
Which
Which is
is
kind of like,
why I feel like this is why you need to do your research. You don't just trust any old person that gives you a rare candle.
yeah. Also, I think it's like a maybe you shouldn't discount all of the witches that work in the office, and maybe you should like pool resources and figure shit out together.
Yeah.
So Vivi basically says Tamsin's plan is to sell the powerful witch ghost candle to the highest bidder.
Mm-hmm.
She says the college witches are pissed and they also now know about the curse.
Yikes.
Right? Vivi just doesn't understand how she could have accomplished the curse when she can't even do magic on her own, like big magic specifically. Um, she, of course, concludes that her and Rhys together equal disaster. Like
Yeah.
apart, their lives ran very smoothly, but together they're a shit show of curses and bad luck,
Hmm.
which is so sad.
Poor them.
I know. She looks around at the house again and she thinks it's a creepy, unwelcoming place, which I thought she would have been here that summer. Like, why would you, if he's staying in this house, why would they be sleeping together in her dorm room instead of him taking her back there where there's like a full empty house? But
But would his dad have let him in the house? Because wasn't he also staying on campus for class?
I thought that, well, she knew his house was up there in the
Oh,
beginning, because in the prologue, I think she said that like his house was up that way or something. But
oh,
maybe it was his family house. I don't know for sure, but I just thought that it was strange that she had never been there, but I guess we don't really know.
yeah.
But she uses her magic to change a pillow from his family crest to a Welsh dragon, and Rhys is like super enamored by it. So he slides over next to her, and she says she's run out of ways to say this is a bad idea, which, like, obviously we know. Like, we've
Yeah.
heard every way that you've said it.
Yeah.
Um, but we're still in Rhys's point of view, and he knows this isn't a mistake. Um, and he says there's been many, but them physically together definitely isn't one. And she asks if he's going to ask to kiss her, and he says he is going to do a whole lot more if she'll let him.
Woo!
Right? I'm like, yes, please. Uh, so of course they stumble upstairs, but before he can like push her into the bedroom, Rhys says there's something he needs to tell her, which is like the worst thing that someone can tell you before they push you into bed. Because like
Yeah.
before now, he's only made her come. I'm like, does he have some kind of disease? Because that's what you're immediately gonna think. Like,
Yeah.
but what he tells her that the room is even worse than the rest of the house in a like a gothic nightmare kind of way, a la Dracula's bedroom. Um, and they go in, and the room is all blacks and reds, and there's a canopy bed on a platform. And like honestly, I think I would love this room. It would be right up my alley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She
I want one.
exactly.
I feel like I
Um,
say that a lot in this book.
no, me too.
I want the spell that can suss out cheaters. I want that spell on the that stuff doesn't break and like orders never go wrong.
Hmm.
I want like this thing. There was something else that I said I wanted, I remember, but I don't remember what it was. Like I just want all of it.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Vivi, as soon as she walks in, asks why she hasn't been there before, which I am like,
Yes.
yes.
Why?
But it's probably, I guess he's probably embarrassed about it. But anyway, I would love
Why
it.
would you be embarrassed about a giant red and black canopy bed in the
Yeah.
middle of a room?
Also, it's like obviously his, oh, maybe that's why. I'm like, it's obviously his father's taste.
Oh, so you think having sex in your parents' like decorated room is weird?
It's more the like, I don't know. Like if it was his idea to have a room like that, I'd be like, yes, this is hot. I want this room for myself. But if he's like, this is my father's, I guess that's a bit weirder.
Maybe.
Anyway, you'd also think that there'd be like rooms for all of the kids in the house as well. One would assume that there just
Yeah.
wouldn't be one master bedroom and that's it. But it
Well,
kind of
like
seems like that is it.
it's a big house.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I don't get it.
Yeah. But anyway, they do go inside, and Vivi very confidently strips like most of her clothes off, and she's wearing her least sexy bra and underwear, which I kind of love because like most of the time that's what that's what you're in. And Rhys loves it. Um, at her request, he goes down on her, and she's lying on like this the high canopy bed, and he obviously makes her come because romance books.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he then reaches for a condom, asking if she wants more, and she says yes, which he's probably happy about because, like, we're three-quarters of the way into the book and he hasn't had an orgasm yet. So,
Yeah. So we actually spoke about what an eager beaver he is. Like this is our first. Well, no, really, this is our second time witnessing that. Because like he very eagerly goes down there. Like,
Yeah.
it is not a hardship for him at all. Like,
No.
he's like, what? You want me to go down there? Okay. And then he, like, gets
Dives right
all.
in.
He does. He dives right in. He gets all up in there. Um, and then, like, of course, yesterday, the whole thing with the settee, and, like, he very happily got his fingers right in there
Hmm.
and was happy to do it.
And at the library, he made her come again. Like,
Yeah, like,
he's all about it,
he is all about it.
which I'm here for.
Oh yeah,
But
me too.
I do feel a bit bad for him. Like,
Blue balls, maybe.
yeah. Like, not that you can't take care of that yourself, because 100% don't let any man tell you that that's a thing. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Anyway.
they have a moment where, like, I guess it's in Vivi's head now, but she says that there's like spells you can use for it, like instead of using a condom. But her aunt has always said to trust science over magic, especially like with this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is some sound advice. Like, good job. Because
Yeah. Way
if
to
you
go, Aunt Elaine.
yeah, if you screwed up a spell and then you accidentally became pregnant, that would be unfortunate.
Very unfortunate.
Um, so obviously they have sex now. She gets on top and he does touch her to make her come, which I think like is a good representation of like more normalish sex, I would say, like needing more than just penetration. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, it did say, didn't it, that what it said, like, that he, like, they, while they were having penetrative sex, he also touched her
Yeah. Yeah.
on the vagina.
On the clit, which you can
Yeah.
still find.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that. And shortly after that, he gets off himself.
Yes.
So I guess the night ends with them laughing about the furniture in the room and Vivi trying to wish that she didn't fall for him so hard when she was 19.
Mm,
So
so sad for her.
it is because, sorry, she thinks that this is it. She doesn't think that there's anywhere that they can go from here. And it's just so sad because, like, if they just had a conversation about the future,
I know. She just
just
asked him.
talk about it.
Yeah. She just asked him what he wanted or how he felt.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I don't know. I feel like both of them need a good swift, like, knock upside the head.
Yeah. Yeah. Like at 19, I can understand this, but at 20 something, late 20 somethings, possible 30s, like you would have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, I guess that's it for the week for us. If you would like to get in touch with us and share your thoughts on anything you heard in our episodes, or if you have any book suggestions, you can email us at coffeeandcoread@gmail.com. And be sure to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Coffee and Co Read.
So next week we'll be finishing the Ex Hex, and that is chapters 26 to 35, which is the end. So make sure to follow along. And if you're enjoying our little chats, don't forget to follow, rate, and review wherever you find our content. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you on the next page.